Good morning, everyone. It's Ann Hine. I'm just about a minute early. I'm going to hold here for just a bit. I'm going to go find us on my iPad, and then I will turn on the comments, and we'll go from there. So let's see what happens when I go find it. Sometimes it pops right up, and sometimes it doesn't. Ooh, there we go. I found it. All right, and let me get my comments going here. Let's see, there we go. Hi, Britt and Dee, welcome, welcome. I'm actually going to turn the camera on a little bit now because we're right at the top of the hour. So let me get that going and say hello. There we are. Good morning, everyone. Ooh, got to get that background in the right spot today. There we are. Well, welcome. We're doing AD Skill Builder number 21. I can't believe it. Where has the time gone? And it's August. Where is that time gone? What a fast year. Very fast. So welcome, everybody. We have Shirley there, and Lynn, and Ann is watching, and Teresa. So welcome, everyone. I'm just going to wait just a little bit here before we get too far along. And just to fill you in, I'm in my home studio. Finally, as I traversed across the country here. I made a big loop. It's kind of interesting. So I went from Delaware north to Jersey to the office. Then I came back to Delaware. Then I went down to Virginia, came back to Delaware. Then I went out to Northeast PA. That's the town of Northeast. And then from Northeast, I traveled over to Connecticut to visit some family, and then I came home. So over the past 2 weeks, that's where I've been wandering around, just like kind of in one circle there, touching home base every so often. But I'm back. I think I'm going to be home here for a while until September. And then in September, we do have the big Janome event, so I'll be going to that. And I don't know what's going to happen. I want to do my live from there. It just depends on my schedule and what's happening there. So that's in September. We got a couple weeks to go for that. And I will be this Thursday on the Janome sewing machine page. So I'll be doing, what am I doing? Oh, I'm going to do gradient fill. So I'm going to talk about that. So pop in if you haven't used that. And that's over here at Janome Sewing Machines. Oh, wait, I don't need Super Stitch up there. I could take that away. That's where I was last. Here we go. So yeah, I'll be at the Janome Sewing Machine page on Thursday. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's my usual time. So I'll be there getting everything spiffed up for that. Let me see who else is here. Heather's watching. Hello. And Judy. Yep, you can watch this later, Judy. It's saved right here to the page, and it'll be in the feed, and then at some point I move it into the guides, so you'll be able to find it in the guides under AD Skill Builder. So you'll be able to find it there. I've been trying to bring over my videos from the Janome Sewing Machine page to our page, but for some reason Facebook is not letting me. So I'm going to try a little something different today to get some of those over here. And I like to keep them all in one place. So if you guys want to see them, you don't have to go over to the Janome page. You have to watch them live over there, but then you can catch the replay if I can get them to cover over here. So let's see. Suzette and Heather. All right, so it's about 3 minutes after. So today I'm talking about the grid. I'm talking about guidelines and align. So I'm not sure if many of you know a little bit about working in the grid. That's when you open a new page and you have that edit screen with all the grid lines. There's some cool things you can do with that. So I'm going to talk about that. And then using guidelines and how they can help you with your pieces that you're working on, and also with align. It's one of those things where on some of these tools, you don't see them till you have something on your screen and select it. And that's the great thing, about Artistic Digitizer. It doesn't clog up the screen with lots of tools that you might not be able to use for that particular thing. So it gives you more working area, and I do like that part of it. So let me see over here what's going on. Hi, Darlene. Oh, Darlene was in my classes at Northeast, and I did a couple of them. I think I did an intro class, and then I did a owner's class, and then I did a owner's project class, and I taught them how to make a in the hoop zipper pouch, which, which is hard when you've been in a morning class, then you have a lunch and that's the afternoon class. So it's hard for your brain to take all of that in. But they got the basics of getting that zipper area in. And once you know how to do that and you save that, you can create bags galore. And I showed them all the bags I have. I'm kind of a bag addict, and Miriam and I are the same. We do the same thing. We love bags and pillows. For some reason, I do pillows. I'm always looking for like new ideas of things to do. But that's typical. We make a sample of a pillow, a zipper pouch, maybe a tote bag, table runner. What else is out there? Tell me some ideas. I'm always looking for some fun things, so you can pop them in over here. Oh, you stitched out your pouch. Oh, I'm excited about that. That's cool. Post it to the page here so we can take a look at it, so we can see what's going on with that. And I'm working on another class too for my owners when I go out again. I probably won't go out again till like September, October for an owners class. We'll see what happens. Oh, there's Amy. Welcome, Amy. Nice to see you. My dot to my polka. Anywho, let me get the software on and we can go through it. I did post the class notes, so if you wanted to, you can always pop off the video for a minute and go pick those up, or you can get them afterwards. They're just very simple ones with a few notes of what pages to look for in the in your manual, and then so you can go quickly there. And then I put in some of the hotkeys or the quick keys or the shortcut keys, whatever you call those keys, that help you maneuver around on the keyboard. All right. So let's see what else is happening. Hi, Janice from Wales. That's wonderful. I think we got everybody in here. All right, and Brit's from Sweden. Welcome. I know Brit watches a lot. It's great. Okay, so let's go to software. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers because I had some issues with my software and getting it on the streaming software today. Earlier, so I'm hoping everything, there it goes. Everything worked out. Phew. I hate when I have computer issues like we all do, right? All right, so here we are on the software, and I'm going to open Create New to show you a few things. Now, when I open my page, you'll notice, and I've said this before, I like it just plain white. I don't like the grid there. I just want to have all this nice working space. And sometimes I'll just move my hoop off to the side like this and have just a plain area to work in when I'm demoing sometimes, so you don't have that hoop in there. But to bring that back, if you go to Zoom and go to Zoom All, it brings that hoop right back. So if you ever lose anything, just go to Zoom, Zoom All, and it'll bring it back. And when I click that out there, you can see that the shortcut key is your function key and F4. So you can bring it back that way too. Oops, let me grab it and see if I can, now I can move it. There we go. Let's get it over there. There we go. Function and F4 brings it right back to the center for you. All right. If I'm in the Sacramento area. I wish I was, Amy. I don't know. You might be in my area soon. I might have to track you down in my area pretty soon. You have to let me know. All right. So I don't have the grid on. And first of all, that white background color, that comes from my welcome page right here under fabric. I've chosen none. And even with none, you can go in here and change your color. I don't want one of these graphics behind my work. I just like it like a solid white background, and then I can change the color right up here. So this is my embroidery category, and it gives me my density of what I'm working on. These over here only give you a graphic behind your piece. So sometimes you like that, sometimes you don't. So I really do like the none normal. So that's the one I have, and I'm just going to click OK. And I'll go back to my new page. So that's that. And you're all wondering, where is my grid? So I have my grid turned off. And to turn it back on, really you just need to do, on my Mac, it's Command-Shift-G. There it is. And on the PC, it's Control-Shift-G. so you can turn it on and off at your will. And you notice when I turn it on, whoops, let me get it on here. There we go. Back on. You can see that my grid looks probably different than what your grid looks like. And that's because I've gone in and made a couple changes to my grid. So I'm going to go up here to the edit screen, to the view, I'm sorry, and grid, and I have show on there. So let me see here if I can reset to default workspace. I'm going to reset to my default workspace, and let me open a new page. Go up here to my view, and view, there's two spots for view, and there's my grid. I can turn it on, and then I can also turn it off from up here if you don't want to use the shortcut keys. But when I have it turned on, I have an option here to edit it right there, which we'll come back to in just a moment, because I want to talk about, well, let me turn off my edit. That might help. Here we go. I'm going to put it on the default so you can see what that looks like. There we go. So typically yours is going to look something like this, probably different colors, right? And when you go up to your view, we have something called Customize UI Colors. That's custom user interface colors. And when you click on that, you get this little window here. And let me move it to one side here so we can see what's going on. And I gotta move my other little interior window. There we go. So this gives you a lot of changes, and I've gone over this once before, but I just want to talk about the lines down here. This is the grid area right here. And I'm going to make some changes so you can see which part of the grid these go to. So for the minor part, that's the little gray ones. I'm going to make those actually a different color. So you click on the color box, and then you can slide this around anywhere you want in the colors, and then you can change the intensity of it here, the brightness of it. And then here, this is like if you want it lighter or darker. So we'll just put it here, and you can see what goes on. So those are my minor grid lines right there, the minor ones. And then the medium ones are the next ones up, these ones right here. If you can see where those are, I have them as a sort of an orangey color right here. So let me make those a little bit darker so you can see them. There we go. So those are these lines. These are your mediums. And then your majors, I have them as this gray color, but I'm just going to make them, let me just make them really dark so you can see them. And those are my major ones. So I have the green as the minor. I have this darker brown as my medium, and this is my major. All right. So, and then when you get done setting those, and you could put them any color intensity that you like to work with. When you get done with that, you just click down here, save all as defaults. And then when you open up your grid, it'll always be like that, even when you turn it off and turn it on. There you have it. The other thing you can do with your grid is change the size of the grid boxes. So under view, and you can go to view at the very top, which you might not be able to see that sometimes on my screen, or you can go to the view tab right here with the eyeball, and you can go to grid and edit. And when you go to edit, you can customize it, and I usually have mine at 1/4 inch, and I'm going to say okay. And now you can see all my boxes, these are all 1/4 inch. You can see by the numbers on the side. So I don't have all those extra lines and things in the way. Okay. Oh, hello, Joan. Oh, from my class in the Northeast. So the other thing, this is, if I don't want it so bright, I can go back into my custom colors here. And that's my major outline here. And I can change it to be a little less, and maybe a little less this way. Click off, and then I could do save as defaults. So now I have a grid, but it's a little pale, which I kind of like that. I don't really need to see it. Sometimes I need it for aligning things. And I am a zoomer, so I do love to zoom right in when I'm working and work like that. The other thing you can do with your grid is you can turn on the snap. So when I come over here, I can do snap. And what snap does for you is help you create straight lines or keep things on the lines. So if I go to my Digitize Outline Shape tool, and I'm going to zoom in, and I click here, you can see how my line is snapping to the other line, right to my grid. So I'm going to make it that long, and I hit the wrong key when I was doing that. Let's see. Come here, right? And let's see if I can get that to work for a second here. What's going on? There we go. Get that there. I'm going to left click, right click, and shape. And then I can select it. And you can see when I zoom in, this line is nice and straight. There's no little bobbles in it because it's connected to the snap on the line. And then when I select it and I move it, it'll snap to a line when I get to it. So I can keep things aligned as I go. The other thing, if I turn it off, let me show you the difference. If I turn off the snap and I draw a line, so I'm going to get my outline shape, and I draw a line, and I can try to keep it on there, but it might be, it might not be. And as I'm getting it ready, I might wiggle that line, and I'm going to left click, right click, and shape. And I'm going to zoom in on this. I'm going to select to turn off my tool, and look right here. Do you see this little, well, you can see it. There's a slight little bobble right here and right over here. It's hard to see them, but I'll go back out. But look how straight this one is, the bottom one, that was on snap. And this one isn't quite straight. It has a little bit of a bobble. And I wonder if I went to slow redraw, what that would look like. Let's see. There's the straight one. And there's the other one. It has a little bit of a bend in it. You can see a little wobble right in there. So you do want to use your snap tool if you're creating straight lines. Or if you are aligning things on the grid itself. It really will improve some of the things that you're making on there. So that's using your grid, using your turning on your snap, learning how to turn your grid on and off, and how to use the custom on there. So if I turn off my grid here, you can see just my two lines right in there. And I can see it's noticeable. It's hard for you guys to see it, I'm sure, but that bottom line is like straight on. The top one just has a little bobble like right there and right there, which might not be a problem for most people, but sometimes when you want something that's perfectly straight, you can do that. Now, these blue lines here, these are the, when you go under the custom UI colors, those are the hoop limits right here. So you could change those if you wanted to make those more pale. Maybe you don't like them. You could make them more pale like I just did there, so they show less. And then I'm gonna put them back just a little bit up because I do like them on there a little bit. But sometimes they're distracting, so sometimes a paler line there is better, and you could probably pale them out so they're barely there at some point. All right, so moving on, the next thing is guidelines. Now guidelines are sort of I think they're a forgotten tool down here. I know I forget to use them. And when you use your guidelines, they're down here in your toolbar at the very bottom on the left-hand side. And when you select them, it turns them on, and you can click and drag and you get a guideline. And when your cursor is on it, you can rotate it around based on where it is. There's a little hand. Or if you need to move it, you can move it around and straighten it up. You can add a second one if you need it. Put that one on there. Maybe something like this. Maybe you're trying to align something that way. But what happens is you get this nice window up here. So you could set your lines at a certain degree to each other if you were trying to, maybe once you got your piece done, you wanted all your stitches to go in a certain angle. So you could line up your pieces along there, or you could put your shapes along there too. And it also gives you work area. And I'm going to come back another time and we're going to play in the work area, but you can create a shape. It doesn't have to be one of these. You can actually create a blob shape if you want to actually put your work into. So it would look like this on there, and you can move it around until you hit selection, and that way you could put all your things. Maybe you wanted everything to be in your circle but along these two lines. That would be your workspace. You wouldn't have to create a circle workspace and then delete it. You know how if you created it with your drawing tools, you would have to delete it. This way it just sits there nicely, and only when you select it can you move it around. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to actually cancel it out. Let's see if I can delete it. There we go. Just hit the delete key. So when I make my shapes, let's make a shape or two. I'm going to make a shape here, and maybe I'll make one over here. So when you have your shapes, you can select them and, you know, move them close to your lines. Maybe you want to align this one like right in here, and you want to put this one like down here, just so you have them spaced a certain way depending on, you know, what you're working on. So you can turn on and off on the guideline the snap also. You know, on our grid we had the snap. So on guidelines you can show your guidelines or not. There they go. Or I can bring them back, and then I can put snap on. And what's helpful with snap, if I can get there, there we go. With snap, when I'm bringing my pieces close to the line like this, I've got this one selected, it will snap to my line. There we go. It snapped right on my line. So if I need it exact on that line, I can bring it close, and then it'll snap to the line. And I can also use my arrow keys. That one snapped, and I'm bringing this one down here, and that one's going to snap to it. So now they're attached. They're not attached to those lines, but they are snapped to the line, so that if I needed them exactly at that position, I can get them exactly at that position. This is great for lining things up in your workspace, and you can use them for a lot of things. Do we have any questions? I'm not sure if we have any questions going on here. I haven't seen anything in a little bit. Are you still out there? Just to make sure I'm still filming, because I don't know if my camera is still, I think it's still on. Let me go back to the camera and see. There we go. Usually it gives me a little timer, and it's not giving me a timer today, so I don't know. Oh, there we go. All right, so we're back. All right, I just wanted to check because, you know, I hate to talk for 20 minutes just to myself and then have no one there. Hopefully somebody would, you know, text me and say, hey, you know, you're not filming. Those things have happened, you know. We know they've happened. All right, let's go back because I want to talk about the last thing on here is align and distribute. So let's go to that. And I don't know if anybody's used those tools before. Again, it's one of those tools that until you have something on your screen, sometimes you don't know they're there. Now, to turn off my guidelines, all I have to do is select the guideline tool at the bottom and just delete, and they're gone. And I'm just going to go to select to turn off that tool. Remember, anything that you turn on over here on the left that highlights blue, you need to turn it off with the selection tool at the top. So I'm just going to select these two lines and get rid of those. And I'm going to use my shapes tool, and I'm going to put some shapes on here, just a variety of them, just to show you some things you can do. And maybe I'll make them different colors. Let me put my selection on so we can have one that's green, and maybe this one is blue. That one can stay red, and this one maybe I'll do yellow. Okay, so I have my shapes on there. And when I select one of them, you can see a couple more things showed up on the top there. But when I select two of them, I get a couple other tools. I get the shaping, the align, and resize. And we're going to come back, and I'm going to do a thing on resize at another time. Could you use snap to align a border continuous line quilt? Let's see, I'm trying to think how to answer that. Yes, you could use the snap to grid or snap to the guideline if you're lining up that border on the on a certain position in your quilt, but it's only going to, it's when you do a continuous border, that snap to doesn't stay with your embroidery like when you're stitching it out. So you're still going to need to position your continuous border. It's only going to stitch as much as you can in the hoop, and then you're going to have to re-hoop, and then you can position it again and go from there. Does that answer your question, Lynn, on that part of it? All right. So now that we have the Align, we're going to work a little bit with Align. And the nice thing with Align is you do have, there are, and I put it in the, on the handout, there are shortcut keys for these, and they're very easy. So, you know, the left one would be an L, the center is C, right is R, and then if you're doing top, it's T, center is E, and then bottom, if you're centering in the center, if you're using the center portion right here. And then equal spacing will show up in just a moment on here. So if I wanted to align these on the right, all I would have to do is click right or R, and both of those are aligned to the right. And it bases it on the last item that you selected. So let me undo this, and I'm going to add a couple in here, so we'll get a few more. Let me do this. When I select like this, the last one I select is this yellow one. All my alignments are going to be based on that yellow one. And now that I have more selected, I have more alignment items. I actually have the equal spacing left to right and equal spacing up and down. So if I do equal spacing here, it sort of makes them equally spaced. These are weird shapes, so it's going to bring them together like that. I can align them to the left, and they're all aligning off of this edge of my yellow one. Or if I wanted to go back up and I wanted to align them to the right, they're going to move to the right side of my piece. So let me show you what I mean by selecting the last one. There we go. And I'm going to click off of here. Move this. I'm going to move this down a little bit. All right, so as I'm selecting my ones, when I get to here and I select the blue one, that's going to be, oops, let me select it first of all. If it will select for me, it's going to base it off of the last selection. So let me see if I can do it this way. Yellow, red, green, and then blue. All right, so my blue one, it's going to base all my alignments off of there. So if I want to center them in there, I would do my C, and it centered them all based on each other. So if I drew a center line, they're all centered lined this way. All right, so let's undo that. And it was based on this one here. So if I deselect this one, let me hit Control, actually Command, sorry, in this one, and then I want to select the red one. I deselected the red one. Now it's going to center off the red one. So it brought it all aligning with this, the red one over here where the blue one was over there. Does that make sense on there? You have to play with this a little bit with some shapes to see how they space themselves. Maybe I want to do equal spacing. So let me see if that'll, let me undo this and I'll do equal spacing for you. Some of these might not equal space just because of where I've put them. So I'm going to do, for a Mac, I'm going to do Command C, or let's try Command E for shaping. Oh, it's not going to shape them. Maybe they are equally spaced. And then for your PC, you want to do the Shift or Control, or Shift, I'm sorry, Shift, and you can get that in there. Okay. So can you see how this would be helpful when you're working, aligning things up? Maybe you're trying to put these, let's move them down. Let's move this guy over for a minute and bring this guy down here. So I want these all in a nice line. I'm going to select all of them. This was my last one selected, the green one. All right. If I want them all to align based on that green one on the bottom, so I'm going to select B, and it moved them all in a line based on the bottom of the green shape. So maybe I want them to center. So they're centering all on each other. Let's undo that. So they centered all on top of the green one. And if I did E for equal spacing center, now the E made them equally centered on this shape. So if I drew a line across there, it would be equally spaced on there. That was under the top, center, and bottom alignment. I'll show you that here. So I used this center right here. Okay. So now whenever you're lining things up in your hoop, you can use this to your advantage. It's very helpful. But remember, if you're selecting, so if I selected all of these, it's going to base it off the green. If I didn't want the green, I could, from my Mac, I can hit Command and deselect the green. Maybe I want them to come off the red, so I'm going to deselect the red, select my green again, go back and select my red. It's the last one selected. It has the pink box around it. And now when I do center, let's see if it'll center off the, well, let's do T for the top. It's basing it off the top of the red. So hopefully that makes sense. What helped me is when I'm going to put my camera back on. When I was playing with this early on, what helped me was to put those shapes on like I did and then just see how they react, because then it's easier to understand all the alignment tools and what they're going to do. They're very handy. Have you ever tried, you have your grid up and you're going to move this one over and put it on, oh, I'm going to put it on this line and I got to count 3 lines over here and 3 lines over. Here you can, really set them up equal spacing, get them aligned all in one line. Just makes your life a lot easier when you're working through them. Now, when you're doing lettering, in lettering, they have alignment also for lettering. So when you're in your text tool, you would use the alignment there, and they have a couple different alignments for where your text is based on the line, and then also where your text is on the line, whether they're spaced completely across, if they're closer together, and so forth. So you can play a little bit. That's a little bit different alignment there. If you were in lettering and you got done with your lettering and you did break apart and you clicked off, now whenever you do break apart, all your pieces are individual objects. So now you could use the regular alignment tools at the top under align, and you could align letters that way. So maybe you've you want to do your own monogram, so you didn't use a sample one, so you can put your letters in, and then you can break them apart and then use your alignment tool for that. All right, let's see if are there any questions going on? Anything there? You guys are so quiet today. I'm just checking to see what's happening over here. All right, so I don't have a whole lot today. Just that little bit, a little tool, and I'm going to start going through for some of my AD skill builders, using some of these tools and getting you used to using them, and also giving you the quick commands so you can work a little faster on what you're doing. The one thing I do want to mention, I think I've said this before, I work on a Mac, but I don't have a mouse, and what I do have, I use the pad, that's the touch pad, and I set the bottom right corner, because in a Mac you don't have a right click. It's like a heavy press or a double press on that pad. Well, for some reason I could never get that to work. So I went into the preferences on my Mac. If you go up to the Apple and then go to preferences, I was able to set my touchpad to the right hand corner for a right click. Now, same thing on a PC. You can set your touchpad for different things too. When I'm on the PC though, I really like my mouse. But when I'm on the Mac, for some reason, I like the way this pad works, so I haven't switched over. But there's a lot more controls that you can do with your pad. Once you get used to where things are, there's a whole series of things that you can work with just to make your life easier. But if you like a mouse, get a mouse for your Mac too, so you can work with that. All right, I don't think we have any questions. Everybody's so quiet. Let's see what's going on. Let's see. So where will I be coming up? I'm not going to be anywhere until, let's see, October, November. I'm going to Houston Quilt Show. So I'll be at the festival part, not the market part. So I'll be at the festival part. And I think, last I heard, I was in the booth. So I'm in the Janome booth. So if you go to the show, pop by the booth and see me there. And then I have another assignment after that in the first part of December. I'll be out in Portland at and maybe Amy will tell me, I think it's a Rusty Barn in Portland. And it's over at wherever that conference center is, over by the racetrack and just north of the airport. So Amy and I will both be there, so you get to see the A team working, and we're going to be at Houston too, but in different booths, but the A team will still be there. All right, I'm going to wait for just a second because sometimes the questions take a moment to come up. And I challenge you guys to work on working with your grid on and off, changing the colors of that grid so that it's a little easier. You know, when it first comes up, when you first open your software, you're like, it's really in your face. So now you can customize it to your liking and what works best for you. And I honestly just turn mine on and off. Oh, the other thing is, let me show you one last thing because I forgot to show this. I'm going to go back to my software. When you set your workspace up, once you get your grid the way you want it and all of that, you can, under View, you can go to Save Current Workspace as Default. And that will save all those settings that you made, that your grid is off, that you've got the white background, all of that, and I can click there and it will save it. And Marty made a comment that my top toolbar is showing. Yes, today when I came, I don't know, when I was out in Northeast, I think I had a Mac update and everything on my screen had like changed size, and it was just, it was very hard to deal with. So I played with it today, working with different things, and I did get that top. You can see that top toolbar doesn't always show. All right. And if you're in a Mac, under Artistic, you'll get your preferences in the software, which on a PC is under Tools and Tool Options. This is your Tool Options menu. But on a Mac, they put it under Artistic and Preferences. And then, of course, here is your Mac controls under your Apple. So you see what those are right there. All right. Also, the Apple icons were along the bottom. Oh, you mean my this one down here, my very bottom toolbar? Yeah, I think there's been some weird change. Like I did one thing to these kept getting in the way and coming back, so I've just kind of docked them there so they don't move around too much. And then I can get back and forth between stuff. I almost thought we were going to have a little cancel because I couldn't get my software to show. I was having a little technical difficulties. All right, everybody, I'm going to let you go and get on with your day. Here in Delaware, it's hot and steamy. Here, humid. That's why my hair's looking. I didn't really do much with my hair today because it's humid and it's not really going to do anything. And I will be back on Thursday over at the Janome Sewing Machines page. So check me out there at 3 p.m. on Thursday. We're talking about gradient. And I know in my class I showed you a little bit of that on last week in Northeast. But tune in. It's a great way to add layered coloring and into your designs. And it's a great way to add that without adding bulk to what you're doing. So be sure to check in with us on Thursday over on the other page. And I'll let everybody go for now. Have a great one. If you have any projects you're working on, post them to the page. I love to see what you're working on. I have some things I'm doing. I can't post just yet, but I will be posting probably near the end of the month for that part of it. All right, everyone. I'll see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great one. Let's see. Learned a number of things. Oh, good. All right. All right, everyone. Bye for now.